My friends, the world is loud, so loud that sometimes we can't hear our own souls whispering. We are surrounded opinion pressures, expectations, judgments, noise, and endless comparisons. And somewhere in that storm, toxic thoughts begin to grow like weeds that choke our peace, our clarity, and our inner strength. But today, I want you to remember one truth: your mind is your home, and it deserves to be clean, healthy, and sacred. No one else can clear it for you. No one else can protect it the way you can. Inner peace isn't found, it is created, and it starts with learning to release the thoughts that poison your spirit. So today, I want to give you 5 key principles to help you break free. Reclaim your focus and step back into the calm, powerful, grounded version of yourself. Before you can clear your mind, reclaim your peace, or rise into a life filled with clarity and purpose, you must first see what is standing in your way. And most of the time, it isn't the world, it isn't people, and it isn't circumstances. It's the quiet storm happening inside your own mind. Toxic thoughts, those small, sharp, unkind whispers you've repeated to yourself for so long that you don't even realize they are there. Recognizing toxic thoughts is the most powerful beginning of mental freedom, because you cannot release what you refuse to acknowledge. Most people go through life carrying thoughts that don't even belong to them. Words spoken by others, comparisons absorbed from society, fears inherited from past experiences, and limitations shaped by old wounds. And because these thoughts grow quietly and consistently, they become a background noise that feels normal. But toxic thoughts are never harmless. They drain your energy, distort your identity, weaken your confidence, and sabotage your emotional balance. They convince you that you are not enough, that change is impossible, that your life is too complicated, or that peace belongs to others but not to you. And the most dangerous part is not that these thoughts exist, it is that you begin to believe them. So the first step, the most crucial step, is awareness. You must learn to pause and ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? And is this thought building me up or breaking me down? Awareness is clarity. Awareness is power. Awareness is the doorway to transformation. To recognize toxic thoughts, you have to slow down long enough to listen to yourself. This doesn't require meditation on a mountain or silence in a monastery. It requires honesty. It requires presence. It requires the courage to sit with your mind instead of running from it. You might discover that much of your stress comes not from life, but from the stories you tell yourself about life. You might find that the anxiety you carry was born from assumptions, not truth. You may notice that your lack of peace is tied to replaying scenes from your past that no longer deserve space in your present. One of the simplest ways to recognize toxic thoughts is to observe how your body reacts. Your mind and body are intimately connected. When your mental space becomes tangled with negativity, you will feel it: tightness in your chest, heaviness in your stomach, tension in your shoulders, pressure behind your temples. Your body never lies. When a thought is hurting you, your nervous system will always tell the truth. Another powerful method is journaling. Writing exposes thoughts that hide in the shadows. When you place your fears, worries, and assumptions onto paper, they lose their ability to silently control you. You begin to see patterns, thoughts that repeat, dots that return, and narratives that never serve you. Clarity is born not from ignoring your thoughts, but from examining them. And understand this: recognizing a toxic thought does not mean shaming yourself for having it. The goal is not to blame yourself. The goal is to free yourself. Everyone experiences negative thinking. The difference lies in whether you feed those thoughts or challenge them. You cannot always control the thoughts that appear, but you can absolutely control the thoughts you choose to keep. The moment you say, "This thought is hurting me," you take back your authorship. You stop being a captive mind and become a conscious creator. Because the truth is this: a toxic thought only has power as long as it remains unquestioned. Awareness is the beginning of peace. Awareness is the moment you turn toward healing. Awareness is where you stop surviving your thoughts and start mastering them. And once you can recognize which thoughts are poisoning your peace, you gain the strength to replace them with clarity, confidence, and inner calm. Toxic thoughts don't always arrive loudly. They don't storm into your mind like uninvited guests. More often, they slip in quietly, disguised as concern, responsibility, or preparation. They pretend to be helpful when in reality, they drain your energy, distort your perception, and cloud your ability to experience peace. Recognizing how these thoughts work isn't just helpful, it's essential, because you cannot clear what you do not first identify. Toxic thoughts follow a pattern. They usually begin with self-doubt. You start hearing that subtle voice inside whispering that you're not good enough, not ready enough, not strong enough. It starts as a soft hum, barely noticeable, but repeated often enough, it becomes a background soundtrack to your life. And soon, you're not just hearing the voice, you're believing it. That belief becomes a filter through which you see everything. Every challenge feels bigger. Every setback feels personal. Every uncertainty feels like evidence of your limitations. These thoughts don't just sabotage your confidence, they anchor your mind in fear. They convince you that you're unsafe, even when you're standing in the middle of your blessings. They convince you that the worst will happen, even when your reality is stable and full of possibilities. They make you relive old wounds, replay old conversations, and re-experience old failures. And each time you replay them, your body reacts as if it's happening again. That is the power of toxic thinking. It makes the past feel present and the future feel threatening. Another way toxic thoughts hijack your peace is through rumination. You replay scenarios in your mind like a broken record. You ask the same questions over and over again. What if I fail? What will people think? Why did this happen to me? What if I'm not enough? These questions have no finish line, no resolution. They trap you in loops that drain your emotional energy until you feel mentally exhausted. What many people don't realize is this: toxic thoughts change your posture, your tone, your choices, and even your relationships. When your mind is cluttered, your spirit becomes restless. You become reactive instead of intentional. You start responding to life from a place of fear instead of wisdom. You start shrinking, playing small, and questioning every step you take, not because you lack ability, but because your mind is burdened with thoughts that don't belong to you. You must become aware of the moment your thinking starts to drift toward negativity. Awareness gives you power because awareness brings choice. When you can identify the exact moment your thoughts begin spiraling, you can stop the spiral before it becomes a storm. You can step back, breathe deeply, and ask yourself, is this thought true? Is it helpful? Is it aligned with the version of myself I am becoming? Often, the answer is no. And in that no, you reclaim your power. Recognizing toxic thoughts is not about self-judgment. It's about self-protection. It's about honoring the peace you deserve. It's about knowing when a thought is coming from fear instead of truth, from insecurity instead of possibility, from past pain instead of present reality. When you recognize toxic thoughts for what they are, intruders, you stop giving them permission to live rent-free in your mind. You stop allowing them to shape your identity or determine your choices. And slowly, with practice and intention, peace becomes possible again. Because peace begins the moment you stop believing every thought you think. Toxic thoughts often disguise themselves as the truth. They whisper quietly, yet their echoes fill every corner of our minds. They tell us we can't, we're not enough, we'll fail, or that something is wrong with us. These thoughts come from old experiences, Old fears, old wounds, but they do not reflect the woman or man you are becoming today. The moment you start challenging these thoughts, your entire life begins to shift. We all carry narratives, stories we've repeated so often that they feel like facts. Some of these stories were handed to us by others: a critical parent, a judgmental teacher, an unkind partner, or a society that placed unfair limits on who we could be. But just because someone planted the seed doesn't mean you are obligated to keep watering it. At some point, you must look at the story you're living and ask yourself, is this narrative mine, or did I inherit it? When you pause long enough to question your internal dialogue, you create the space needed for truth to enter. Truth sounds different. It doesn't insult you or belittle you. It doesn't operate from fear. Truth is steady, quiet, grounding. It whispers with the calm certainty of a friend who believes in you more than you believe in yourself. Replacing negative narratives doesn't mean pretending life is perfect. It means you choose honesty over harshness. You choose accuracy over assumptions. You choose compassion over self-criticism. Maybe the narrative you've been carrying is, I always mess things up, but the truth is you're learning, you're evolving, you're growing. Maybe your story says, no one loves me, but the truth is, you are worthy of love, and your story isn't finished yet. Maybe the repeated thought is, I'll never change, but the truth is you change in small ways every day. To rewrite your narrative, you must begin with awareness. Start noticing the thoughts that drain you. Write them down. Study them. Observe how automatic they've become. Only then can you interrupt them with something healthier, stronger, and more aligned with your true identity. Try telling yourself, I am capable of more than I've allowed myself to believe. I release what no longer serves my peace. I choose clarity over chaos. I deserve to think thoughts that empower me. When you consciously replace a toxic thought with a truthful one, you are not just shifting your mindset, you're retraining your brain. You're building new neural pathways that support confidence, resilience, and inner stillness. This is not wishful thinking, this is science. These are mental habits you are capable of building. And remember this, you cannot control when negative thoughts appear. They may surface automatically, but you can control which thoughts you feed, which ones you entertain, and which ones you let pass by without giving them power. Real strength is not the absence of toxic thoughts. Real strength is the ability to notice them and say, not today. Every time you correct the narrative, you reclaim another piece of your peace. You rebuild your self-worth. You restore your clarity. You step into the version of yourself that has been waiting beneath the noise. This is how you begin to reclaim your mind, one truth, one affirmation, one moment of awareness at a time. Toxic thoughts do not always show up loudly. Sometimes they arrive as quiet whispers, slipping into your mind when you are tired, overwhelmed, or uncertain. They creep in as what-ifs, should-haves, and why me. And before you know it, your mind becomes a battlefield where the same thoughts loop endlessly, stealing your peace, draining your energy, and leaving you feeling mentally exhausted. This cycle is called rumination, and it is one of the fastest ways to lose clarity, confidence, and emotional freedom. But here is the truth. You can't stop a toxic thought from appearing, but you can stop it from staying. That power belongs to you, and it begins with conscious redirection. Rumination is like sitting in a rocking chair. It keeps you busy, but it gets you nowhere. You replay conversations, analyze situations from every angle, imagine the worst outcomes, or dwell on what you cannot change. And while your mind is revisiting the past or fearing the future, life is happening right in front of you and you are missing it. To break this cycle, you must become the guardian of your own thinking, not the prisoner of it. Healing is not a single moment. It is not a switch you flip, a meditation you do once, or a journal entry you write when life feels too heavy. Healing is a decision, one you must make every single day. And the truth is, the world will give you endless opportunities to choose anything but healing. It will offer you stress disguised as responsibility, chaos disguised as urgency, noise disguised as importance. But deep within you, there is a quiet voice, one that says, you deserve peace. You deserve clarity. You deserve freedom from the thoughts that are harming you. Choosing healing daily means refusing to negotiate with the negativity that tries to take up residence in your mind. Toxic thoughts will show up, yes. Doubts will whisper. Old memories may replay like broken tapes. But you get to choose whether they stay, and that choice is your power. Healing begins with self-awareness. Every morning, before you pick up your phone and before the world floods your mind, you must check in with yourself. Ask, where am I mentally today? What emotional weight am I carrying that doesn't belong to me? Who or what am I allowing to disturb my peace? This level of honesty creates space. Space invites clarity. Clarity invites healing. Healing also requires intention. You cannot expect toxic thoughts to disappear if you continue feeding them with the same habits, the same relationships, the same routines that created them. Daily healing means intentionally choosing habits that nourish your emotional well-being, reading something uplifting, creating boundaries, practicing gratitude, moving your body, spending time in quiet, surrounding yourself with people who bring light instead of draining it. Healing requires forgiveness, too, not because others deserve it, but because you deserve the freedom that comes from releasing resentment. Toxic thoughts cling to old hurt. They thrive on the energy of the past. When you forgive, you take away their oxygen. You stop letting the past control your present. You stop letting someone else's actions live rent-free in your mind. Healing is also about presence. Most toxic come from two places: regret or fear, the past and the future. Two places where your feet are not standing. Inner peace only lives in the now. When you ground yourself in this moment, your breath, your surroundings, your truth, you remove the soil in which toxic thoughts grow. Choosing healing every day is an act of courage. It is easier to remain hurt than to rise. It is easier to replay negativity than to rewrite your inner narrative. But courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward even when you feel afraid. Even when the thought says you're not enough. Even when someone tries to belittle your worth. Even when life tests you. Healing is the daily decision to interrupt the pattern. To say, no more. No more letting toxic thoughts lead my life. Lead my life. No more giving power to what hurts me. No more allowing the world to take my peace. Healing invites you to build a new mental world, one where your hope is louder than your fear, your clarity is stronger than your doubt, and your peace is deeper than anyone's chaos. You deserve a mind that feels like home. You deserve thoughts that lift you, not destroy you. You deserve to wake up feeling light, capable, focused, and freely. And that freedom comes from choosing healing, not once, not occasionally, but every single day. Because your mind is the soil for your entire life. When you heal it, everything else begins to bloom.